Probably the public can come with you to ask us some questions, and they should be delayed because we can't start a meeting. So, right. Shall we start a meeting?
Yes.
Please.
Sorry.
No? No need to be sorry. After all that, I haven't got an agenda. Okay, we have fire safety procedure. If there's a fire, please leave with fire exit. We have a recording protocol. I'm going to record the meeting in a personal capacity. Would anyone else like to record the meeting? No? If you wish anything to be taken out of the recording, do let me know, and I'll make sure it is. Welcome. We don't have a chat full stop a day today, so we'll go straight into public questions.
Good evening. Thank you. And good evening, councillors, and welcome to our new clerk and our deputy clerk. I hope you'll be very happy serving Midsummer Norton. It's very sad that Jo Corbett's not here tonight, because I really want to publicly thank Jo for all the work that she has put in recent days. A couple of issues that I've raised. One was the pot-bellied style. With Sean's help, I think Jo's now located it. As yet, we haven't had a firm answer on it. But the one that has made me chuckle, well, in fact, chuckle, no, maybe pretty despairing. You might remember I'd asked about a handrail leading from West Road up into Greenhill. I didn't think it was very much to ask. Everywhere around here, where we've got steps, we've got handrails. Jo has worked, as I say, pretty tirelessly, and it's come back. Apparently, it's the responsibility of Coro, which I find rather strange. I would have thought it was public highways. And Coro's response was that they need to have a referral from an occupational therapist. I would have thought the last thing they wanted was for somebody else to fall down the steps and have the need for an occupational therapist. So I don't know how everybody on this council feels about it, but I was pretty appalled. I thought it was quite a shocking answer, but Jo is still pursuing it. So yeah, I publicly thank her for all her tenacity. And if I might ask your tolerance to discuss the Walton site. Very sadly, I wasn't able to come to the last meeting, and I'm pretty sad that I missed it. I'm appealing to all of you councillors to come together and have a united front on the Walton Bag site. To me, I think it's a golden opportunity for the site, for the town. I think, given the size and the scale and the proximity, close proximity to our high street, we should see this as a little jewel in the crown. It's the gateway to our high street. It really is the gateway, you know, with the one-way system. And I think we've got to set the bar pretty high for it, not accept any old thing that's going to come along. I think the recent planning applications, we should all learn from the pitfalls and see just how far short those plans have been to address the needs of Midsummer Norton, Walton, and to get rid of the problems there. The last application, as far as I can see it, offered no solutions whatsoever. None whatsoever. I think they just offered drawbacks. So I'm appealing to you, let's be bold and ambitious and try and think outside the box. If it's chosen to be a housing estate, I would say we've got enough generic housing estates in Midsummer Norton. Given the close proximity to North Road, which was always a very prestigious area in my time, it's got some pretty desirable dwellings there. So I think any future development on the site, as I say, should not just be a generic housing site. We need to include some executive properties. We need to get a greater mix of people coming back into Midsummer Norton. As I say, in my time, and I know it's back in the dinosaur days, but North Road consisted of pharmacists and doctors and solicitors, all the high-class people, and we seem to be losing that calibre of person out of Midsummer Norton. And I think when we start introducing better housing, bringing in different people, we might introduce different things to our high street. So I'm just asking that we think about what goes there. It's got to be something to enhance and lift Northern back up to the status we used to enjoy. I think everything has got to be totally connected to the area. North Road, Walton being a lovely little dwelling place as it used to be, so we need some cottage style properties there as well. But I think that any plan that comes in has got to be absolutely watertight. It cannot be wishy-washy like the last one. I think we need to look and make sure that there is the preservation of the woodland at the west of the site. That's a definite must. We cannot lose that. It joins in to the Wellbrook Walk. We cannot allow that to happen. And above all else, the planning application must be for the total site. We have to bear in mind that there's dangerous asbestos roofing to 90% of that site, as far as I can see it from the eye. You can't start knocking those buildings down ad hoc, taking down a bit of asbestos here, building something up, little businesses arriving or housing, and then think about taking the next lot of asbestos. It's something that's really serious and has got to be done in one foul swoop. The other thing, I'm not sure that anybody has ever checked whether there's ground contamination there. They're talking, you know, let's do this, let's do that. There was printing works there for a long, long time. We all know chemicals and inks contaminate the land. So I just don't know, I've never heard that any of these things have ever been carried out. Waste management back in the 40s, 50s and 60s, I'm sure didn't even exist. So I'm just saying, sorry if I'm running out of time, but I'm just going to go on to the highways issue. Again, I'm saying let's be bold. Let's think of, you know, we can't seek impossible ways to improve Station Road. Station Road has got houses on one side, it's got the public house on Stones Cross. There's only so much you're limited to do in Station Road. So let's not think about what we can do with Station Road. Why can't we introduce a new road through the site? There's got to be access roads in the site. Why can't there be an access road?
Sure, I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm aware of time. I would say the thing is, the town council isn't a property developer. I'm certainly not a property developer, and we are a planning consultee. So when planning applications come in front of our council, we can state an opinion, and that opinion doesn't hold a particular lot of weight. It's then assessed by Baines, and they make the decisions. So the council can certainly support or object to applications in front of us, but we're not in a position to develop a site or anything like that. Now, we will be eventually developing a neighbourhood plan, and that plan may include certain things which will give direction on how we'd like to see the town be developed, and the style of houses and connectivity. But that really, I think, will be the limit of the town council's involvement. So, you know, as much as we can sort of sympathise, the town council is quite limited as an organisation.
It may be limited, but surely if Baines know that you've got a collective idea here of what Midsummer Norton, the council and the residents want, at the moment I'm sure they've got no feeling of who wants what. So let it be known that, you know, we've got high aspirations. We want something pretty damn good here.
Well, we want something, certainly. And what I would
I
say
don't
is
think we
will
just
have...
want something. Excuse me, I don't
Well,
think we
something
want
is
something.
better than it is.
We want something far better than we've ever had on that
Yes.
site. We
Well,
have to accept it was an industrial site,
Yeah.
but as I say, we've got to capture this. We've got to do something to make it worthwhile.
What the town council will do when it develops its neighbourhood plan, it will go out to consultation, and there will be a consultation exercise with the whole community to get feedback and an evidence base for the neighbourhood plan, which will go into law effectively, and that is the correct way, I think, of the community getting involved in the future direction of our town.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Well,
That's
so
the
it's not
procedure.
really worth me saying any more.
Well, it is, because I can tell you that when we go through that consultation, that's exactly the feedback that that consultation exercise will look to take, and that will be fed back to Baines, and then that will go into the Baines planning system, and that will affect the future direction of developments.
Yeah, but as a town council, we are allowed to have opinions.
It's the Archie's
We
opinion.
are allowed to have a
They are
voice as a
opinions.
town council, other than just to say yes or no to a planning
They are
application.
opinions.
And secondly, we are in the process of a review of the full local plan at Baines.
Yeah, we're doing it as a town council or not?
It's open for all residents and councils
Yeah, we're a consultee.
to participate in the review of the local plan.
Yeah.
So, and that includes policies to do with the SSV4, previous ones from the LPPU. So we have a lot of areas where we can have an input
Yes.
into local planning.
Absolutely.
Is that
absolutely.
consultation open at the moment, or when does it
Yes.
come live?
No, sorry, the one that's just opened is the Severn Valley Enterprise Code. But no, the options are being prepared. That consultation will start after Christmas when the Cabinet sign off the draft proposals.
But to bring it back around to the relevance of what you've put across and to what Gordon said to reiterate it, the local plan sits at Bain's strategic level and happens for another year. Underneath that, and something important that someone's possibly missing that addresses some of those things Gordon said.
Sorry, I'm a little bit hard
Sorry,
of hearing, Tim.
is above the strategic level, local plan, above that you've got West of England plan, but importantly if you're into Northern neighbourhood plan references a lot of the things that you have concerns and mention, and that when the consultation happens would be really important to get that input on that, and from obviously from the wider public, because you probably have the same sentiments as many other people, there might be differing opinions, but the balance of that should come through in the neighbourhood plan for Midland Norton. Bradstock have one, I think Westfield has one. We currently miss out on potential advantages from that feed into Bain's planning to say how things should be as a result of public consultation. So it's an incredibly important document that would be great to support for those means, because that's the mechanism. As much as we've got the local plan at strategic level, as the wider unitary authority, the neighbourhood plan is a mechanism through which there are ways to exercise locality, vernacular, areas for certain types of development, potentially.
What I'm really wanting to put across is that hopefully all of you around the table will come to a joint decision of what you as a total council feel is right. We had a fragmented council before, it done Midsummer Norton no favours whatsoever. It's quite obvious the feedback I had from the last meeting, you're all of slightly different opinions at the moment, and that's not going to do us any good unless all of you around this table come to a collective agreement, and Bains are aware of what your collective agreement is. As I say, we don't want anything ad hoc there. The last, well, as I say, to me it was farcical what was put in.
What, widening the road?
The biggest annoyance is we've got derelict buildings and we've got nesting seagulls. That little bit of they wanted to deal with didn't get anywhere near where the nesting seagulls are. All they really wanted to do was knock down the brewery and two little buildings by the side. I just don't know whether the brewery is worth keeping. I don't know how much it would cost. Again, has there been any structural engineers going in there to know whether it's worth keeping? Sentimentally, I think I would love to keep it when I think of all those beautiful dressed stone windows. But is it viable to keep it? I can't allow sentiment to get in the way. But to me, I think it would be absolutely wonderful to have senior apartments there. It just seems the right sort of thing. If you've got nice senior apartments, then you'll have nice housing around it. If it's deemed that it's got to be businesses, then let's start talking to some artisan brewers.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe we should all become proper developers. No, that's very
I'm
good.
sorry if I've taken up
No,
so
no,
much
thank you
time.
very much. I was quite happy to let
Thank
you
you for
speak
your time.
because we don't have anyone else that's come to visit us today, so the floor was yours. So thank you so much for contributing.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thank you for listening.
Where are we? Item 97, apologies for absence.
Mike and Martin.
Do you accept the apologies? Right, item 98. Would anyone like to make a declaration of interest? No declaration of interest, thank you. Item 99, down to a mere 4 pages this month, because it wasn't the summer recess, it was mayor's announcements. I just want to prefix it with one thing, it was just to say how much I appreciate the effort that Gemma Griffiths put in as councillor. She's actually achieved quite a lot in a short period, didn't she? She brought some of the policies up to especially she's moving on to another town, and that's why she's outside. So thank you very much to her for her time in the council. Item 100. I would like to agree to the minutes of the last meeting. Is that proposal in a second?
You don't need.
You don't need. So that's not the
You don't
second.
need to.
What are you saying?
Um,
Hang on a
so,
second.
sorry, they actually should be signed on every page.
Making it work that having that pen in hand.
I've got a bit down to initials. Send it every page. But hang on, they've gone.
Just initial.
Yeah. This is a new thing, right? Thank you very much. Hey. Right, item 101 to note committee meeting minutes. And potential update from the chairs of those
Yeah,
committees.
apologies there. We were going to give you the draft minutes and then we decided for you to give an update, but we didn't change the heading.
Okay.
That's why it's a bit confusing.
Well, I don't know. Can we give an update from the Finance and Operations Committee? I don't feel qualified to. Other to say that they're fully reflected in the minutes.
You
It's
shared
part
it,
of the
so you shared it, so you should be able to give us an update.
Well, I can't remember what happened there at all. I thought to write it down. But nothing in addition to the minutes. That's what I say. Planning Committee, that was more exciting.
Well, the actual meeting wasn't particularly eventful. There wasn't too many issues in the applications. But we did have an interesting discussion afterwards with the residents about the Welcome Bag sites.
Yeah.
So, so it was nice to actually try and inform residents of some of the background information. Didn't quite go as well as I'd hoped in terms of getting the information across. But yeah, it's a useful exercise to do. And we'll be doing another. I'll be doing another one soon. So
We're all just about on speaking terms.
don't push it.
Do we need now to get this opportunity to elect a new person onto the Finance and Ops? No, we don't.
There is an item, share
There's an item
on
for it.
item 103.
I just thought I'd check.
I mean, there's relevance to actual funds.
Yeah, you can do it.
If you've got a separate item for it, that's fine.
No, you
The second item is just to say that she's resigned, so I think
All right.
now would be a good
you would elect a new chair
Right.
at the
At the meeting, but we need an extra person on the committee. So we've lost a chair and a member.
Oh,
So,
Yeah.
didn't realise.
So we need somebody. I mean, we don't need to. It can continue with.
You can continue with four members.
Would anyone else like to be on Finance and Ops?
Is it the council today to decide, or can it be decided within the financial commitment, F&O, or with somebody else goes forward for
It
it?
have to be before.
Yeah, council needs to appoint a member to the committee,
So that's
and then the
okay.
committee will vote for a new chair.
Sure.
So I guess that.
It's not for me because of the timings and that they were set around, I think it was Jenna's requirement more so than anyone else's, it was quite late to just get back from work. But for me, I just sort of voiced the general.
No,
So
Jen
that was the 6th, but then there's planning on later.
was
so just more
on
like,
finance,
yeah,
so it's
That's
But
too
it's
much.
finance we're looking for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Someone has to be on
like
finance.
6 or 7:30.
Yeah, because I wanted planning earlier than the finance and operations because of timings personally. So I don't want to commit to another meeting, I want to commit to a later one.
Okay, well I think the suggestion is we stick with the current number and then we'll see if anyone comes forward.
So
We don't know when we're back up to full strength. We might get somebody else that wants to pass
Yeah.
on this.
It is just to say, Chair, it is possible understanding orders for the proper officer to in liaison with the council to appoint a member on behalf of the council to that committee. So if something comes forward in the future, thank you.
Thank you. Item 102. Should be a verbal update and any recommendations for decisions from the following working parties. So we have the High Street Working Party.
Yeah, it was a very interesting meeting. We obviously had a look at trying to put some meat on the bones in terms of a short, medium and long-term strategy to develop the high streets. The attendance was good in terms as we had representation from the cabinet and various other parts of things, areas where we're going to have to go anyway to try and get funding for all of these activities. The disappointment was, this isn't a reflection on them, but the amount of business owners and shopkeepers in the high streets was very low, and I think that just reflects the despondency that's being felt and the fact that so many of these projects have happened in the past and not gone anywhere. I think quite rightly shopkeepers don't believe it's actually ever going to happen. I don't really think that anyone's ever going to deal with the issues of the high street. So we have an opportunity to prove them wrong, and we will. And hopefully we'll get more businesses to attend the next one when we add more detail into the plan, how we're going to develop the high street.
From speaking to those that did come along, they seem really optimistic and really positive. So I share your thoughts and hopes.
Good. Great.
Thanks, Sean. Media and Communications Working Party. What have we been up to? A couple of things from Midsummer Life.
Attended the councillor training for using social media and such, which was interesting. I shared that with everybody.
That's good. Yeah. We weren't sure if it's worth watching the video again. The Town Council Strategy Working Group. We have moved on to start off with the good, the bad, and now we're on to the solutions. It might take slightly longer. We're putting that together and we're making progress on it, to be honest. And we seem to have various issues though with our collaborative working, Linda and Martin, who now seem unable to log into Microsoft 365. This still hasn't been resolved.
No.
Right, okay. So we need to fix this. Let's
Any
get the password
email
reset or what's
have to be
required.
sent to me with a private email. Otherwise, I didn't know about your High Street Working Party because I was on it previously.
Right.
So I didn't. But that's obviously because everything's coming through on the, on those emails.
Right, we need to
So I don't get those.
Can Soul Vision fix that for you if you're struggling?
I've just made a note to send Linda a number because you are under the basic
Okay, that's
support.
important.
So I'll send
Thank you. Brilliant.
Okay.
The other thing from the strategy working party is the scoping for consultation towards what a town council strategy should be, wasn't it? Because we're kind of hoping to get towards that.
Yeah.
So that I can get wider input.
I didn't understand any of that, sorry, Tim.
Identify
The strategy for...
So the town council strategy that we would work to along the lines of what we are remitted to do, but then also going out to, as much as like we've gone within councils to say, what there is and there isn't, and we can suggest solutions. A proper way of doing so is to ask the general public and consult on that to say what they would actually like done, so that it gives us weight to proceed with the strategy, that would then tie together what we kind of bring forward and take forward. So it would include the weighting of say the high street in terms of other things like we just what we presented with in terms of what we should support as a council, as to what the general public might want, just as an example.
That seems to be the feedback from the course that we did as well, isn't it? We need to come up with a kind of position and then look for an evidence base, and if it turns out it isn't there, perhaps choose a different position, because if you just ask for all sorts of solutions, it's almost impossible to get sort of meaningful data. So we'll see how...
It's also great for engagement, isn't it? That's kind of what the whole thing was around communication, is to engage the public in something that needs to be undertaken, is to then offer the opportunity for them to engage at all stages throughout and look out for it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And we have the Community Alcohol Partnership Anti-Social Behaviour Working Party.
Yeah, it will happen in October. We've had lots of issues, primarily scheduling the meeting with the police. We just seem to have hit a bad patch with the police in terms of officer availability, lots of holidays, and we've had a change of chief inspector and all sorts of things have happened quite recently. So, but we will get this meeting in place by the end of October. That's not to say that I'm currently liaising with the police quite a lot anyway, because we have got a lot of issues in high streets that are ongoing that need to be addressed. So I think we're probably talking the last week of October at the moment is probably where we're going to be in terms of the CAP meeting and police availability. In an ideal world, we were going to bring Ronnie in, the chief inspector, and he was going to head up the first meeting, but unfortunately he's moved to HQ to do bigger things.
Right.
So, but anyway, this month we'll get that meeting done.
Good stuff, thank you very much. Item 103 is...
Can I just the same question? We used to, in the outside bodies, feedback from the bodies that we were assigned to, the groups that we were assigned to, that we're all
That's
council
true.
members.
I should say, are there any other reports from any other outside bodies?
happening. So,
Yeah.
Thank you. I know the people who do this.
Yeah, it's community trust and all sorts of stuff.
Well, not really.
How trust.
Not yet. Next week. Well, I just mentioned the Youth Connect meeting, the information meeting that a few councillors came to, which I think was, I've sent out the slides and I've put together what I thought were the relevant points from it. So I just want to, make sure people have read that and aware of that. I think it was very useful, very in quite a lot of detail about what they're doing in the organisation in general and specifically what they're doing in this town. And arising from that were several points that I think will feed into our strategy, into our budgeting and to the priorities that council develop. One was we were keen to work with other councils to have a coherent sort of plan and overview of what's going on in the area, rather than at the moment it's very isolated pockets, individual councils with Youth Connect. Funding, I think there was a sort of willingness to allocate more funding if it's targeted and to work with Youth Connect, although they were quite keen to hear from us in the community about what we felt were the priorities. They're quite keen to work closely together and hear back from town councils about what we think are the main issues. So I thought it was a very useful meeting.
It was actually.
Amazing.
They did say they would offer as well if any of the councillors wanted any kind of advice on how to handle situations, obviously with youth, they were open to calls, weren't they, to get advice. And if there was a bit of trouble on the street, how could we, I'm assuming, how could we best approach, maybe, so they offer that too, which was good.
It was also really nice to have some teenagers come in.
Yeah, some users.
Yeah, they spoke to us and they were fantastic.
They actually
It's a shame there's more of them than there were councillors. To be honest, I was disappointed with the turnout from the council.
Only a few, yeah.
Because it was.
There's a lot of last minute cancellations. We'd have more notice we'd have rearranged the day, but those were there. Had a good evening.
Well, it's just it just reflects, and we've got to give these sort of youth services a higher priority on our vision here.
Yeah.
It quite often appears like a bit of an afterthought. It has, to me, it has done historically in the way it's been budgeted or budgets have been assessed. And as we discussed on the night, a metal container, what does that tell us about the way that we look at our young people and the services that they need? I won't go to the whole meeting, but there's a lot of areas that we need to prioritise. And as Martin said, the schools aren't set by ward, yet our youth services are. We've got ours, Westfield got theirs, Radstock got theirs, Poulton got theirs, but the schools aren't separated by those same divisions. So there's lots of issues we've got to address.
Okay. Any more outside bodies? Okay, thank you. Right. Item 103, to note resignation of Gemma. Got to the 13th of October for request to go into Baines for an actual election.
And what happens if you need 10 people, don't you? 10 residents to say they want an election.
Yeah.
So if you don't get that, what then happens?
It goes to co-option.
Yeah, the process is co-option.
Yeah.
So
What does that mean exactly?
Somebody wants to become a councillor, then they'll put themselves forward, and then you, as a council, can decide who you want.
So Martin.
Thank you.
I do have a concern about this because the 14-day period has started without the public being aware. We haven't, as far as I'm aware, it's not been, well, it wasn't in last week's journal. Is it in this week's, do we know if it's in this week's journal, the notification?
We don't need to put them in the paper.
I know you don't need to, but I'm just, the last election, there was more candidates than there were seats, and that's great, that's good for local democracy. So the process allows, from the date we advertise, a 2-week time period for the public to request that they would like to see a by-election, rather than us just co-opt someone onto that seat. 14 days is quite a short period of time, even if you know on day one that you want a by-election and you want to stand in a by-election, to organise things. So the fact that the vast majority of our residents don't know that that this process has started and we're in a day period is a concern.
It was put out on the notice boards, it was put out on NUB News, it was put out on our website.
Okay.
So I think we have done our due diligence putting the information
Oh,
out.
absolutely, and don't
Whether
take
or not
it
it's
don't take it as a criticism.
Whether or not it's in the Middleton Auto Journal, I'm not sure.
Okay. I think we just have to be very aware, and our communications experts will be able to tell us where the best way to get the most coverage when we have to put some news out to the public, particularly if we've got to put it out quickly. And typically it's normally based on the journal. It's certainly not the Midsummer Norton Town Council webpage. Why? Because most of our residents don't look at it.
Oh, I don't know, I've got the data for it. It can be actually very well used sometimes, but it depends if we're putting information on it. And when we do it's well received.
Okay.
But I take your point. And we don't have an official policy. I mean, the thing about this is the election thing. It's only kind of partly our responsibility, isn't it? I mean, it's partly
absolutely.
a process.
It's
the entire democratic.
It's the monitoring officer, the 151 officers. Yeah, I mean, but as I say, it's just making sure the public are aware, because as I say, there were, I believe, for Midsummer Norton total about 11 seats. I think there were at least 16, 17 candidates, and the candidates that didn't get on may like the idea of some sort of by-election to give them another opportunity.
As much as the sentiment shared that it's good that the public can have access to knowledge like that, the other thing as an alternate, less anarchistic approach to it is that as a council elected already by that electorate, we are entrusted to make a decision if there are suitable candidates that come forward to not make a decision as well. So that is obviously a similarly appropriate mechanism for appointment with a member councillor.
But the most democratic process is an election.
We've already had that there, that's the thing. And
Yeah, and we had candidates that missed by a few votes being in that seat.
But what you're referring to in the entire election with that interest and the appropriate timing as such of that, it was great. But now what happens with this one councillor is there might be some that people step forward, and those sorts of things can be taken into account if we do co-opt to appoint a councillor by that route, if that's what it comes to. So it's just playing kind of the level.
Very quick. Yeah, is there a mechanism to let those candidates that didn't make it know?
Sure.
Well, they have to
Do
kind
you know
of
the
keep
payments
up.
charged to councils for the election?
I don't believe so, no.
Sure.
No, it's a district function.
No, because I come from someone's that charge the councils.
I can check. I can speak to Andy tomorrow. I'll find, Michael here.
To see if Baines.
I can check that just in case it does come to that. I can check that out. But in principle, 10 people deciding is not as democratic as all the residents.
I get that, and to be honest, councils up and down the country do take criticism for the number of co-options. It's something you read about if you read all the kind of boring literature I do, and it's a regular complaint because it's not seen as democratic. So I understand that, so it's a good point, Sean. I guess we can all now do our little bit to make sure everybody knows word of mouth is strong.
Oh yeah, we're now into what? How many days have we got left?
That's quite a while for the 13th of October, I hope.
That's a full council vacancy notice to promote that side of things, as well as the fact that there is the option for 10 people to put forward the fact that they would like a by-election if they thought that was necessary.
Somebody's it's not down to the candidate to tell everyone there's an election. It's down to the council to tell everyone there's the potential of an election. It's our job to notify the public that there is that most of the public won't even understand the process.
But the first thing you say, surely, Sean, sorry to cut in there, is to say there is a vacancy, and the process through which an appointment might be made is by applying for it, or saying, as a member of the public, actually, I think the mechanism should be a by-election. That's what can be promoted.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if 10 or more of our residents feel strongly enough that they feel there should be a by-election, then they have to write in and ask for that. And if 10 or more residents ask for a by-election, then there'll be a by-election. Now, you may have a by-election and only have one candidate stand. And we appreciate that by-elections cost money, whereas co-opting doesn't. But we need to be democratic and clear with a transparent with the public, say, there is a vacancy, here's the process, if you want a by-election, this is how you do it. If you don't, that's fine, we'll co-opt someone.
Sorry, quick question then. I assume that we cannot extend this period. Is that like
no, it's all
law?
done by being
okay.
monitoring officer.
Right.
Well, it's actually 14 days. excluding Saturdays and Sundays, so it is actually slight. It is actually slight.
And within that time, we can say ourselves, as the woman said, and tell people in general that that's happening.
If we wish to.
Show it and such if we have to.
Okay. Thanks everyone. Thanks for pointing that out, Sean. As I don't have any more business for item number 3, apart from to thank Gemma again and wish you the very best. Item 104, proposal to approve and adopt the following policies: standing orders, financial regulations and code of conduct.
So, Chair, just quickly, these are the latest updated versions of these 3 big policies. They went through the last F&O committee meeting without amendment, so they're now submitted here for the Council's sovereign body to approve.
Excellent. Well, in that case, would anyone like to propose we adopt? Is this a proposal? Right. Well, just say proposal to approve.
Yeah, but then it just says resolve.
Ah, fair enough. So do we have to do anything?
Just say it.
Have you agreed?
Our job is not to agree,
Because
yes.
everybody had a chance to read through.
Well, it does show the importance. I mean, on our very first meeting here, we were pushed by the previous local clerk into supposedly signing off 11 documents, and he lost his temper when we challenged him.
To be fair, that was the first meeting.
It was the first meeting, but the point was these documents did need updating and reviewing. They were out of date and they were incorrect. And Peter Fortune has done the work.
Sure.
Yeah, but we just didn't have time in the first meeting, right?
Sure.
No, we didn't have time, which was the whole point. The first meeting, we didn't have time to review the big, so we couldn't sign off documents. We hadn't had documents.
Can I just comment at first what you just said to remove some of the hyperbole and how
Hyperbole.
the extra criticism and things like that were placed around some of the things you just said, and that actually the first meeting we had a very short period of time after being elected to consider those documents, to understand every process behind it as it would be and we would understand now, in that we had to have those documents in place, as
Could have been
Emma
deferred.
corrected me, had to have those documents in place to operate as a functional council legally, so we had to approve them, but we had a long conversation. I won't bring into what the previous local clerk did or didn't do in terms of his temper, because I think it was provoked. And also there was a point which was very important, that we were going to review those documents, hence this process now, and it's appropriate for us to obviously bring that forward for adoption after review by the F&O committee. And if anyone disagrees with me that, please say.
No,
Because I was just trying to say it
I think we're all
in a way that's how we started, and this is where we are.
I think we're all in
Without bringing some of the
violent agreement for item 104, which is great. Let's move on to something less contentious, which would be item 105, which is Silver Street. Sorry.
Sorry, are you approving the financial plan?
Yes, I even asked for a proposal in secondary. He said he didn't.
Oh no, because I saw it. Okay.
Right, item 105, the grants. Okay, so this is a bit of ping pong, isn't it, with the grant system?
No, I think now that Jo has taken the opportunity to, and Jo's done a great job. She explains the mechanics behind it. We didn't fully understand how the reserve, how the field fitted in with the trust and what the relationship was there. But Jo now has explained that it's separate from the trust. It has its own charity effectively at the field. So as a small charity that's not connected to the trust doesn't have the ability. It might have the money, but it doesn't have the ability to issue.
Actually, I just went back and checked the actual the sort of delegation of power that the council bestowed upon the town trust when it was created. And the town trust does have within its right to award grants to other charitable organisations that do similar work, which is quite interesting. So we should probably check that, because if it can do that, it would actually be quite appropriate, I think, for the trust to make that sort of award. And they have, as far as I can tell, some funds for it too.
So it's worth checking how that mechanism would work in practice.
Absolutely, and we should, as I say, I dug out the document. It's not published, I don't think, anymore. Thankfully, I don't throw out emails. It should probably be published again. But we should get that double checked, and if not, unfortunately, this should probably come back in front of council again. Or should we?
It's also interesting to note that the land belongs to Somervale School.
Right. Oh, right.
Thanks, I was going to ask that.
Okay.
So it's leased to this group and our charity. So is it like a full repairing lease then? Does that mean that some of our schools are exonerated from any responsibility for the field at all? Is that how it works? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm just saying, has anyone looked at the terms of their lease to see, make sure that they are responsible as a charity for absolutely everything, and therefore they've got to have the funding, or has some of our schools still got an obligation maybe to do something?
Yeah,
I don't know.
approach the grant.
Pardon?
I wonder if they could be approached to the grant on those ones.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about it, but I just think it's worth asking rather than, you know, the council having to necessarily pay for it out of very limited funds that are left.
I mean, another option is that, I mean, I know our grass cutting budget is gone out the window, really. I mean, but having said that, we are paying a lot of money for grant cutting. I suspect it's up around the £20,000 annum at least. It's certainly increased from the previous year, which was about 11,000, I believe. The point is that can we cut the grass cheaper than £500 within our own grass cutting procedures? And
I see what you mean, yeah.
calendar.
It's not, actually.
Because
it's not council land though, it is school land.
oh, absolutely, but
And councils can't donate to schools because it's double taxation.
okay, but this is not a school. This is a charity that we're assisting, and whichever mechanism we use to do it, if it's cheaper for us to cut, if it's cheaper for us to cut it than £500, then it's worth us exploring that. I don't know what are they called?
Primrose, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what they would charge. I'm just looking at all the options. I mean,
Well, when you apply for grants, sorry, do they have to bring in like 3 quotes or something? To actually, they have to substantiate the cost of what they're asking for? Because I've applied for grants and I've had to do that. I've had to say, you know, we want water supply and this is the quote from Bristol Water, this is how much it's going to cost to do the groundwork, this is the cost of the materials. And even our orchard that we're doing now, I had to, you know, to treat everything, I had to itemise everything to get to a sum, and I had to substantiate why I was asking for a certain amount of money. So they've asked for £500. Have we seen any evidence that it costs that? I'm just asking.
Yeah. There's quite a number of things that they have submitted in support of their grant, and they did.
So they did provide quotes.
So there was quite a lot of papers went to the F&O committee in support of this grant. I can't tell you exactly the information that was
The only thing really is a quote to prove how much it costs.
I think
It's
there was
Friends
a
of
quote from them.
Was there?
I
Friends
think
of
so
Silver.
from them,
Yeah,
so I
they
had
did
to
a huge
look
level of
back at the
charitable work
FNA, I can't
on
remember. But I
Friends
think
of
That's
Silver.
one of our
Do-
schools.
Do any of us know how important it is for us to make a decision on this now, being that it's kind of the end of the growing season, or is it requiring grant board?
I'm just a little bit concerned about the circular route stage. This is the 3rd meeting this has been at now. A sort of a £500 grant. So I think, you know, my own personal view at the moment is that the application was submitted in accordance with the rules, with all the supporting paperwork. I think it's really now down for the council to decide whether to award it or not. Or, as you say, have the discussion again at the trust about whether it can be gone through that route.
Yeah, it's interesting. We need to get somebody who would be to check if it is true the town trust is perfectly able to award grants because it has money.
And we're asking, we've got a town trust.
We're going to have a meeting.
what is the field primarily used for?
Bees and grass and stuff. It's kind of oil field things.
Yeah.
Is it back, does it back on to some of that then?
Yeah.
So why can't their mower guy, their maintenance guy just jump in?
I think it's like many things. If these guys don't look after it, it just goes to rack and ruin like so many things.
Right.
So that's just how the whole Silver
Why don't
Street
you just invite them to come in and talk to us
I
about
can
it?
do. They did do a big presentation to the previous council about the work they do at the Silver Street.
Okay.
I'm sure they'd like to come and visit
I'd
new
like to hear
councillors and explain what they do. Yeah, they give up a lot of weekends on that Silver Street nature reserve, don't they, and manage
So
this land.
Those F&O committee, is this Silver Street Nature Reserve, is it the part that's got all the paths going around it in the woodland and the fields around side that's below the railway line?
I think that's the field I was thinking.
So the field on the valley side,
Yeah.
where there's the trees, the benches, the walkways, the connected
Yeah.
paths, and everything like that.
I think so.
So can I reiterate what Peter has said? At the F&O meeting, it was refused. You shouldn't really come back to to a meeting until 6 months after a decision has been made. You shouldn't revisit after 6 months unless a certain number of councillors put it in writing they want to visit, or new information has come to light. So obviously in this stage, new information has come to light. So I am with Peter on this. You do really need to make a decision. You can't, because it's going to go round and round in circles.
Because it was an FNO committee decision previously, is there anyone who can give an abbreviation as to why it was refused and what extra information
Because
is on that?
I think Sean had suggested that we thought perhaps the town trust
Yes, that was
would
the
be able to
thinking.
do the grant because they had some hopefully surplus
It was
funds.
connected with the trust, but
Yeah.
What was the new light? What was the new information that came to light? Was it that?
Because that it's school land and the town trust can't give grants.
But we think the town trust can give grants. The school land, that's new to me really. So I don't know. I kind of feel personally, throw this in, I guess they're needing to get this done. So perhaps
Can you say yes now and then
we have
really
given
investigate a bit more thoroughly
we
next time?
have done the same grant for them in the past. So I feel perhaps maybe this time we should maybe perhaps agree to it and then make sure as next season comes into view we know exactly the situation about whether the town trust will commit to a grant or not.
They have had it from 2019.
Yeah. It's quite a regular issue.
They have been accepting, but they didn't get it, and they are pursuing other grant options.
Okay.
Yeah. And also the town trust, just quickly, isn't it not just swings and roundabouts? That's still money, we're giving, the town council gives money to the town trust, who then can give it to them. So we're just considering that point, it all comes from the same pot ultimately,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
not quite legally
It's
different.
because they're different entities, yeah. So
Yeah, but it's still from the preset money though, isn't it?
yeah, but
No.
the thing is, the grant to the trust is trust money. So the council sets aside a separate pot for grants, which it then dispenses through F&O committee.
So just to be clear then, if you agree that the town trust can give a grant, you wouldn't be thinking of giving the town trust an extra 500 quid next time to increase their budget to
No, they
accommodate.
make it from their assets.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all right then.
I think we think they've got a little pot of reserves at the moment. That was quite a neat solution. Who would like to recommend what we should do?
I'll propose that we just pay the grant because it's 500 quid. That's amazing. That's what that. I don't
It
even
is.
know.
This one. Can I
Let's
get
go
a
with it.
Shall I get a second?
Yeah.
Okay. They're allowed to vote in favour of that.
Yeah, just
Is that carried?
But
Yes, carried. Well done. It's a decisive council we are. That kind of
we do need to find out that.
We've got a few things we need to find out. We need to find out exactly what the terms of reference are in the town trust. We need to find out exactly what the legal position is with that piece of land. Okay. Item 106 is the appointment of the internal auditor.
I'm not quite sure. There's not a lot of information here in terms of whether you can see company A and company B.
You have,
That's what I've got in mind.
a company which every council has to be internally audited.
Yeah.
They have to be appointed by the full council.
But is this a different auditor to the one that did the last one?
It may be, it may not be. And when I tried to go out for 3 quotes, I only got 2 back.
Okay, because I've concerns about the previous internal audits.
I have recommended as the RFO company A.
Is that the same auditor that did the previous audit, or was that a new auditor?
It's in the
Okay.
There's a new one.
Sorry, this is painful. I'm just trying to say, because say there were issues. The internal audits didn't come to any real conclusions, and I think has probably left us quite exposed in terms of the external auditing, and it didn't highlight the issues that we all knew. Well, certainly I could see there are issues within the town council with the way, and the internal audit didn't find them, which was a big concern. Now that internal audit was supposed to go to F&O and it didn't for various reasons. But I would just say that I would have concerns if we were appointed the same internal audit.
No, as the RFO, I obviously read the internal report. I looked at what the AGAR was submitted, and I was well shocked. So, as I say, I did try to go out for several quotes, and only 2 came back, and I am recommending you go something.
Okay. Would anyone like to
Yeah.
I'll
second that then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your new internal auditor will be a company called Fair Accounts. And apparently they do know you, apparently they did it when you first split. So I think we're on the phone for half an hour,
Sorry, what was that again? Fair
Fair.
Fair Account, that's the one. So they will come in, so he's £900, they will come in January, or I might get them in slightly earlier to do an interim, because this size council you need an interim internal audit, and then they come at the end of the year as well.
Thank you for your work on that. Thank you. Item 107. Proposal to add councillors.
Yes, you have 2 bank accounts.
Okay.
You have the Unity Trust bank account, which we did at the FNO. This is the CCNL your investment bank account, which we can't access anymore at the moment because it's all got ex-councillors and Donna on it. So you do need to add. I've got various paperwork, but I'll do them at the end of the meeting. So I need at least 3 councillors. I would suggest. I need sort of 5 councillors because I need 2 to authorise it, 2 councillors who are on the website, and then I need 3 to be named.
So we 5. Sorry, can you repeat that?
So I need 3 councillors to be named who will be signatories. So it could be the same who are on the unitary.
Yeah.
I then need 2 councillors to authorise it.
Okay. So are the 3 people who are on the unitary happy to be signatories to this one as well?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm happy
That's
to
good
do
stuff.
that.
But there's more than 3 of us, isn't there? Mark,
There's
isn't there?
me.
I've only got space for 3 on the floor. So.
That's all right.
Is it Mike? I can't remember who else does it. It was me, definitely me.
It's
I think
me,
you did.
Charlotte,
I think it was forced to. So
It was definitely Linda.
seriously. So
10.
all right, it's only us 3.
So is this different to the account that we did the bank mandate for in June?
Yes, this is a different one. So can I speak to you all at the end of the meeting,
Yeah.
please, because I need.
And can 2 of those people become the signatories
Well,
as well?
when I spoke to them, I said they've all got how do I access, and they just said to countersign it, you just need 2 trustees, councillors, and they check they are councillors by looking on the website.
That's right. Okay.
Which doesn't seem simple to me, but.
Well, I told you people visit the website. Right. Thanks very much, Kate. Right, item 108. Proposal to purchase a new bench and locate it within the town park.
That was me.
I was going to say, hang on. Councillor proposal. 5 minutes.
I think I've been quite clear on this before actually. So it was requested by a couple of residents, I think. And quite simply, we've got the funds, apparently, they're there, ready to use for it. It's needed, it's wanted, and it's going to benefit the whole of the community, anyone who goes down there in the town park. It's relatively inexpensive compared to lots of things. I just think it's beneficial. And Martin, did you say it was down by the beachy bit? That's where we're talking about?
I think so.
Yeah, which is a really lovely spot down there. And you know, and I think quite a few residential homes, they might take their residents down and they're going to need somewhere to sit and rest. And you know, and if you've got kids playing in there for the parents, I just think it would just make it more usable. I can't see a reason not to be honest. And I personally think the bench should have a back on it, really. I know you can technically get more people squeezed on one of those ones, but I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Get that back. You can get it definitely.
Yeah. So that's it really.
Can I just you said the funding, are we talking about the rediscovered?
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to know when because that project has got to follow a sequence of events before we'll actually get our hands on that cash, effectively. So we're proposing that it's the funding that's coming in from rediscovered, not that the town council should be funding it.
Yeah. From Summer Valley Rediscovered, because the lady, I can't remember, Miriam, thanks. I asked her, is that money, she had a whole list of things that money could be spent on, and she said no, it's available to spend.
Mm.
So we don't have to wait for phase 2. It's there. So I say spend it because it's wanted.
Oh, it's not.
You know.
Yeah, it's just we need to understand that
I don't know how
the
to get that
timeline
right.
for the release of the funding for the Rediscovery project.
Okay.
Can you find out then?
Do you want to out?
So I mean, I love the idea of the bench, and I'm sitting next to Deb, so I've got to be really careful here. But are we concerned about vandalism? So if we put a new bench in there, is it going to go the same way that our bin did?
But you just want.
Yeah, I don't think that's an issue. If you want more benches, I think we all support the benches.
Oh no, we do. I bring
And,
that point up.
and there are benches, and that would just be a thing that we take on, a responsibility we take on. But I think it is that issue of the funding is there, but it's not for us to spend it. It follows the process that Summer Valley
Well, we need to find out then, don't we?
Valley Rediscovered. Yeah, we need to know the timescales of the work.
Because it's not a case of there's just a pot of money we can go and help ourselves to. There'll be a process where the project, I think there's 5 different sites, isn't there, in the project, and each of those sites will have a plan on what exactly is going to happen with the money and how that's going to be.
Hang on a minute, was that not specific to the town park? Are you saying that
Yeah, no,
money
there
was
was some money
available?
allocated to the town.
Right,
So-
that was, so that's what we
Yeah.
were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, look, that's fine. I know you've got to follow process, but if there's money allocated for it, okay, then surely we just need to tell them what we need and why we need it, and can we draw down some funds?
So it's not up to us to draw down the funds and
No, they
It's-
can draw
it's
down
up
the
to
funds.
them.
There's a
Whoever's
line in their
responsible.
budget for seating in Middle Wilton Town Park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what she said. Yeah.
But so if you take, I mean, I don't know how the park one's going to work. I mean, if you, for example, the last meeting we had a quote for the proposals for the Willowbrook Walk, and the first stage is to look at the proposal. Then the work is done by the consultants on the layouts and structures and whatever's going to be done there. And then there's the next stage is to actually action that plan. And I'm assuming there'll be the similar process for the town council.
I appreciate that we've got a process to follow, but the first thing we need to do surely as a town council is agree that we would like to have a bench there, and then someone, I don't know who, sorry, one of the officers, the staff will probably have to then start the process. I don't know how that works.
So I think the bench is, I mean, there's £7,500 allocated to seating in the town park. That's the figures of the shared bits.
Okay.
Our contribution actually, £2,500 total parish contribution now is just grassland restoration and wild meadow. So directly our money didn't go towards the point of this. The seated but it's there. Our input could be, can we have it here, can we
I think
have
that's
this,
what we should do.
things like that.
We've got to start
And we can
somewhere.
ask them when these things are due to happen. So
It's
what's
easy,
the time
just need to
scale?
ask the question.
Yeah.
So agree to having one, and then ask the question and get the ball rolling.
I think the most important thing is to understand how to feed into the consultancy process of the works, because at some point someone's going to sit down and look at that park and say, right, we're going to add benches, we're going to do these sort of horticultural works. There was talk of a hut of some sort. So you need, or we need to feed this information about the bench into that process at the concept and design stage, so that it automatically flows
Do you
through.
say all that money's going to be spent, they want to have a plan or a concept, and then they'll spend all the money, so it's not a stage thing, like can we not tap into it and do this and then
Not
move on to
normally
the
for
next
these
thing?
projects.
There is a master plan which is started before phase 1 of the town park, which is being done. And then there's a phase 2 and funds are coming for it. There was a master plan drawn up first. That's all being done by New Leaf. I think what we've said is the correct thing the council should do is feed back to them now and say, we've got some people wishing to have bench, and they probably will do their very best to incorporate their wishes into the next bit of development.
So actually we need to think about the whole thing now.
Well, I think somebody has. We did decide actually we were to get Andy King to come and visit us.
That's right, yeah.
Because he did lots of talks with the previous council and explained all about the work in the Willowbrook Walk and all the work in the town park. And he probably hasn't met a lot of you people.
Sorry, Andy King is quite willing to come and talk. He was going to come in tonight, but he's away on holiday. Your November meeting, you do actually already have an informal meeting to go over the business plan and phase 2 costing, so you can't really come in November. So that's pushing it back again to December.
Right.
So
You can have a bit of finance ops.
Yes, the finance and ops, because it was the finance and it was the quote that was presented to finance and ops for his works, where there was a query over what exactly was involved in the quote he provided. So we wanted primarily to come to finance and ops to provide some clarification to his quotation.
Yeah.
So I would say finance and ops would be the best place for him to come, and then obviously any councils
Oh,
that are
yeah.
interested can come and listen
Okay,
to his
yeah,
presentation.
that's a good plan actually.
Yeah.
The spring and
And
the-
if they enjoy it, they might want to join finance and ops.
I would like to the November one because I don't think he's back to the middle of next week,
All right.
and then it's a bit close.
I think, as far as your proposal is concerned, I mean, absolutely, I'd be quite happy to second the proposal that we, our intent, that we want, one way or another, we want that bench to happen.
Yeah.
And at the moment, our preferred route is through the Rediscovered project.
Definitely.
And we'll get back.
Do we need to contact them and find out?
Yeah, you're basically saying, can we just get on with it?
Yeah, I know.
I've got Miriam's email address, so I can email
Can you?
Yeah.
Can you
Well, on
please
behalf of
just
the
ask
council,
them?
Or
Yeah, with it, I
do you
think
do-
the office is
okay.
going to convey.
I can
because
forward you
yeah.
Miriam's email
So
address.
can obviously
I'll
ask for
have
clarification or whatever information is on the master plan and the timescales.
Yes.
Yeah.
And don't forget that the project isn't just, it's not an instant project. I mean, this 1.3 million is designed to be spent over, I think, probably 3 years.
I've got
2005,
So-
I think.
some Valley area.
It's,
2005.
the project is designed to take time. They're not going to spend it all in 1 month, you know. It will, so it's important to get involved in that concept stage at the early points, because if you want the bench to be at the front of the project rather than towards the end of the project.
I think the problem is as well, we don't know what we're making decisions on doing. So that's why we need that chap to come in and go, this is phase 2.
Yeah.
Then we can go, this
Yeah, but
is
this isn't
benches, we need
this wasn't phase
benches.
2 money, that was the whole point, as I understood it. This was money earmarked now, because then we spoke about phase 2, because you were waiting for some still money or something to come through, and you know, said that that could be used. So this was money that I assumed was available, allocated now. So we just need to get our act together and figure out what we want with that money, what we would like to see there, and put that proposal to them and get them to
So-
crack on with the
I
bench.
missed that separate
We should
pot of money then.
Well, we should definitely ask them, because the thing is, if, for instance, they didn't want to, there's nothing stopping us having a bench put down. Because we did put the bins down ourselves. One of them didn't last very long.
Yeah.
But we can't do
I'd
that.
rather yeah, but
So,
we'll use their money.
Can I
now.
make a suggestion that
We should go to them first.
find out what the master plan is in its current guise, the timeline for doing it, yeah. But then on top of that, if it's found to be that there isn't a bench in the proposed position, we put one there. There isn't.
Well, yeah, well, I don't know.
Because there could be other benches, couldn't it, around the world, wouldn't it?
At this point, nothing's decided. That Andy King or whoever's doing it needs to sit down and put forward a quote,
Yeah.
and then there'll be a proposal which we will have input into, and we will have input into the design of the new works that are happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it will move into the next stage, which will be to actually action.
So there's no phase 2 plan at all? There was just phase 1 and a phase 2 question mark?
It's a master
Is that, I don't know being
I
secret,
think-
I
don't
don't
think
There's a
understand.
master plan. And
There
they've
was
done
one
phase
master plan.
And then phase 2
So there
is
is-
part of the master plan. I think master plan
So
is
we,
like...
yeah,
made up
so
of
there is a
mini
phase
plans.
2 idea.
Yeah.
And there's,
Yeah,
If
like
they're going
town
to extend
hall.
down and make it all wild and lovely...
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there will be a seating plan in that phase
Because I think originally the amphitheatre
No,
was meant to
if
be
we
phase
get
2,
hold of that,
put
we
it
can
in
see
phase
it.
1.
and what we need to know is when it's going to start and how they're going to do it, isn't it?
But
Well,
they've done...
then this guy has to quote.
I mean, they have done incredible work in the town park already, so I think the first thing, really useful for people to meet Andy King. And he's very enthusiastic about the project because he's been doing a lot of it, you know.
Cool.
So,
Thank you.
is that it you haven't yet? 'Cause I feel like
Yeah,
kind
so I'm
of
not
having it
really-
off a
not
little
really,
bit,
no.
haven't we?
I don't want to say, yeah, we'll have a bench and we're going to get it sorted out. But no, I get it, it's fine.
Let's gorilla
We've got to go through the
bomb it.
process.
I think we're going to get a bench, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's take a little while, it's going to have back.
I really like that spot as well, Deb. And
Oh,
I would
lovely.
like a bench.
I've actually paddled in that.
I'm currently going to sit on a rock down there,
Yeah.
which is quite windy.
Right, item 109.
Oh, that's me again.
Proposal to purchase 2 new notice boards for companies.
Right, again, really quickly, massive criticism from the public to the council is lack of clear communication, and the notice boards are basically rubbish. They're in the wrong place, they're never kept up to date, and there's not relevant information in there. So I know there's difficulties to this with like who owns what land and getting permissions to put notice boards in, but I think if we wanted to do this, we could make it happen. I think we need one in the centre of the town, near to Spoons. Did you know when we were chatting by the river, you said that where the railings were around the river, you go, Norton Town Council owns that, but Baines owns that.
Yeah,
Remember
attached
kind
to
of
railings.
where the railings
Town
were?
council.
Yeah.
But to put it on the pavement.
What would have been bays? Well, I'm kind of thinking, can we not, like, you know, if we own that bit around the river, can we not get a board mounted on technically our land, you know, to help expedite things? But I definitely think we need a notice board in the town centre, kept up to date regularly with all the information, including when the meetings are and local events. And then you saw the photos, didn't you, of that Baines one?
Through that.
I mean, I hadn't even noticed it until someone said to me, I don't know, someone told me there was one there, and I hadn't noticed it. And it's just pointless, it looks awful. So it was suggested by a resident that one should be by the car park for with a map for visitors, so that when they come and they get out and they want to walk down past Fat Sands down that main, there's a notice board there so they can know how to navigate the town. I don't know. So if you could extend to 2, I think it would be good, but even just 1.
But they do have the finger. I say the finger signs are all delivered as part of a project called Finding New Evidence. So the mapping's kind of okay. The notice board thing is lacking.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, like, and we talked last time, didn't we, about a nice map of the high street and where things are. I mean, that would be good.
We have the map made. As I say, the map was on the bus stops. Unfortunately, one been ripped down. But we paid, the council paid quite a lot of money because it's expensive to have maps. Because you can't just copy them off Google because you get charged for that. So we had a map made. It's quite a good map.
Yeah, but
there's one on the bus stop somewhere.
That could go in when, say there was one mounted on by the car park, it would go there. So for new visitors to the town, and then just maybe one, like I said, in the centre by Wetherspoons, you know, as well. Anyway, that's my suggestion.
Well, you know, a couple of things come out of that. One, how do we make sure that our existing notice boards, so no one's kind of obscured by the town hall, but when the town hall's not got scaffolding in, we need to have a system making sure they're regularly kept looking the best and up to date, don't we? So that's kind of stage one.
That's important. So you need some help. I mean, obviously, I think that, you know, the staff, might have to be involved in kind of doing that. I'm sure Alex would help the community trust. I don't mind. We even had one shop owner offered to have a key to one, and she said she'd do it. That was Kelly from Magpie. She said she's more than happy to update it. So I'm sure that we can sort that out.
We have got various notice boards scattered around the town at the moment. There's quite a number of them. They may not be cited correctly, and they're not in particularly good condition, and not particularly noticeable for notice boards, which is quite the downside of a notice board not being noticed. But I mean, first of all, how we communicate with our public, whether it's a notice board, whether it's a website, whether it's other types of media, whatever, I think we need a proper audit, a communications audit. How do we communicate with our residents, and what's the best way to do it? Rather than a piecemeal, we'll stick a board up there and we'll put a website over there. We need to have a master plan of how are we, 11 people, going to communicate with all of our residents effectively.
I really agree with you. I think it does need to be looked at properly, but I don't know, to be honest as well, I think another criticism is that nothing gets done, okay? So I think to give the public a bit of confidence that maybe this new council are actually more proactive and we do want to get things done. Something visual is important. So imagine this nice new notice board, even if it was one going up in the centre of the town and it was kept up together, that everyone could see. And we've done something, you know, I mean...
I think you're right.
I just think that will have a good... And it's really be valuable as well.
But one person's nice shiny sign is another person's street clutter. It's important that we understand we have an overriding plan and strategy for this, rather than thinking, well, the best place to do it is put it outside Witherspoons because that's where everybody goes on a Friday, Saturday night with their tea. I mean, we should, for example, talk to David Gossett, who's managing our island project, because he's just done some heat maps on people movement around the high street.
Ask Dave then.
So that sort of data would give you a better idea on where the best place to put notice would be, where the footfall is. But we're just about to redevelop. We're just about to start works at some point on the islands, and so the island will become a focal point. So where in that design are we going to put this notice board to?
Well, there's one by the town hall anyway, isn't there? So
at the moment,
I was just going to ask, because what this is bringing out effectively in it, there was communication in an appropriate manner, and you've just highlighted sort of a version of that would potentially work, and kind of got to the end point of what it is. But I'm interested really to ask, our new stuff. If they've looked into, like we've mentioned, the website already, overall, if you've got to grips with kind of how the council communicates, because it's the council, and what it does, and are you in the sort of start position really of thinking how that might work, or is this basically a piece of work that we could give you on top of everything else, but not wanting to take everything else in terms of priorities right now, because we've got to also think about what we want to communicate, haven't we? And we have got program stuff that's going on, and like, you know, that's been done to this date in this way. Would it change if we did anything now? So yeah, it's kind of when it fits in, whether or not we can have effective analysis done, like I said, suggesting like to ask Dave's input, and just to say like what measures could we prioritise that we're able to deliver from a staffing perspective, because we only have 3 staff. If we put up extra notice boards of a certain type, it does create work. Like I say, still coordinating the people to put the right stuff in the right boards is work, and as soon as you let it go a bit drab, it might not work. Because there's digital notice boards and things as well, isn't there, that we can go into.
And we've got a communication working group.
we do have a communication strategy.
So we've got a communication working group, which I would assume is the right place to come up with a strategy for communication.
We did, and the previous council did it, but unfortunately everything kind of ground to a bit of a halt because of, shall we say, resources, which hopefully we've fixed now. So the council hasn't been able to do very much, but we were making great progress in terms of certainly digital engagement and that side of things, and we hope that will ramp back up again, which will go hand in hand with notice boards and other things. So yeah, I mean, like so many things, I think we were making good progress. It's kind of been on hold for 9 months because this is October.
I guess
so.
Should we put a meeting in for communications?
Well, I was going to say there's a couple of things. We have our communication working party. We are doing stuff like, for instance, the Midsummer Northern Life article and the strategy working party, which is more important. That has been a constant theme we've come up with, is how do we best engage. But I think Sean alluded to, that will involve not necessarily choosing solutions, it will be finding out from people. So you say you didn't know something was on, where did you look? Where would you like to look? Because, you know, there's no point in giving the same people, well, you should have looked there if they don't want to, or they can't. So that's part of I mean, it's probably going to take about a year, I think, to get to the end of that process. And
I mean,
people want to engage.
You've got to remember, I mean, a lot of things are changing. The bus stop is moving. So that's going to change the dynamics of the high street and the footfall. There's so many aspects to this. I mean, I absolutely agree, Deb, that we need to have those notice boards. I agree with you. But I think there's a huge amount of work that's got to be done to determine what type and where they need to be most effective.
Can we ask
and they
Dave
have to be. They have to be.
Meeting on Wednesday.
Thanks.
And they need to be in parallel with other methods of communication, so that we capture as many residents as we can with each communication. Yeah.
Well, I still think you've got to start somewhere.
You've
got to start somewhere.
The other thing is we don't have a line in the budget
It's
for
not
it.
expensive, Sean.
No,
Sorry.
The other thing is we don't have a line in the budget for it at the moment, so we could plan this.
Yeah.
But I think the strategy is probably a good starting point to understand how we want to best communicate, and maybe the answer is in the notice board, and in which case.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's relatively cheap overall, and it could hit quite a lot of people. And yeah, I know you're going to be looking at, well, we're going to be looking at the budget for next year soon. I think. So just it's something to think about, but we've got to start somewhere with it.
Yeah, I think just picking up on what Katie said, and indeed Sean, in a purist world, the way I'd like to see this is for this to sort of come through, via probably the comms working group into the budget process, so that, so for instance, 2 notice boards, £3,000. I mean, that's in the context of your budgets, that's actually quite a significant amount. But whether you might then also want to put forward other communication initiatives alongside that, so that we can see budget growth bits that are needed as part of the budget going forward would be a good way. It's also just on notice boards. It's important to differentiate between statutory notice boards and information boards, because you have to, good governance guidance is you have to display information about your meetings, for instance, at either or both, depending if they're different, at your council HQ and at the venue where you're going to hold that. Now, council meetings notices are continuously updated. So if you have them on those two notice boards, on those two statutory notice boards, which you should do, and then you have them on other notice boards as well, you are going to have a constant cycle of staff doing circuits, changing those boards almost on a daily basis. So we do just need to think about that as well, and whether the capacity is there to do that. Whereas information boards, which might have a town map and other things about events coming on and stuff like that, are things that need updating and need refreshing, but not on such a regular basis.
Well, I've got an idea then. So there's a notice board there, out there?
Yeah.
Right, okay, that could be the official one, it is the official one. So that's the one that's...
It's not ours, we're borrowing it.
We're borrowing it.
Oh, are you? With a...
But we have one at the town hall which will come back into use
Okay,
when
so-
the town was there, and we have one here which serves the purpose.
Right, that can be the official one, which is kept up to date with all the meeting information. So in the more community one, okay, all right, so we could have a permanent notice in there telling people where the official notice board is. So if you want to find out a meeting, go and have a look down there. So then you haven't got to change that. That could be a permanent note in there, just to let everyone know. So that then will get people thinking about the council and meetings, and they can go and then access the official one if they want to, if they're interested. Then the other one can be like community trust stuff, and even get other local kind of events that everyone on board, because isn't this what we want? We want to build a community, we want people more, you know, interacting in Midsummer Norton. So, you know, in Frome, they've got one that people just got to stick stuff on. I mean, it's not very good in the rain because everything gets wet, but it's normally full. People look at it, you know.
Yeah,
So I don't know, it's just...
But there's one in Tesco as well.
Yeah.
So,
And to be
you know,
honest,
make,
I don't go to Tesco.
so
Spoons has got a big free notice board, I use that all the
Yeah.
time. The Spoons has got a big free notice board inside of community
Yeah,
notice
but I
board.
mean, if you have it like the town council, you know, so we can put our stuff in there as well, what we want, plus other things. Anyway, look, it's just an idea.
It's a
just,
good idea,
it's just a criticism that we don't communicate enough, and I think it's a very visual,
See, one of the things-
impactful way to do it. That's just my
What
opinion.
I found, I've been in the council for a little bit of time now, is one of the things, if we want to promote things around the town, first thing we start is with ourselves. And word of mouth goes far and wide.
Not
And-
done, not far enough, it doesn't.
Well, I seem to be able to reach lots of people, and
Yeah.
other people seem to. So for some of the big events we've publicised this year, incredible turnouts for things like the music event and so on and so forth. And other things we've done, there's been a lot of feedback. Some of the feedback through social media has been absolutely huge. And of course, even people that aren't on social media probably know somebody that is on social media. So there's 11 councillors, and all of us are relatively public positions. People should know us to an extent because we went for a public election. So we should be able to communicate with people. And I think that's a really simple way to broadcast what's on in the town and what the town council is responsible for, what the community trust is responsible for. So it kind of starts with home, I think.
Yeah, no, of course it does, but I still stand
Can
by...
I just,
yeah, go on.
I think, you know, again, like the bench things, that we all support the communication and all different forms of it, and I've encountered that organising the events, people have said, despite what you put online and verbally, but I didn't know it was happening, or you know, whatever. And I think, you know, you encounter that sort of, that frustration of things not happening quickly enough, and that is unfortunately the sort of process that happens here, is that partly because, like Katie said, you know, there's no budget line for it, so we haven't allocated any money towards doing something like that, so it won't happen in this financial year. Secondly, especially being new council, we haven't got our priorities, and particularly in terms of communications strategy. So and I think somebody mentioned about things being piecemeal, that it needs to be part of that somehow. So, you know, it needs to go through the right sort of channels. We're all in support of it, and maybe it's something that could be, you know, expedited. Is that the word? Expedited. It's, yeah, thank you. You know, sort of moved on more quickly, but you know, there's forums. There's a way that it's got to go. I think, unfortunately, we can't just. The only one that does, I do wonder about is that if we've got an existing board, you see, so the one on the car park, is there any way that we can ask Baines if we can make use of that, do something about it? So that's an existing notice board.
You could, but it's a bit like white noise. No one sees it.
Well, I think that is, you know, when you were saying about where the
flags on it.
I don't
No, I don't know.
No, honestly.
yeah, where it's overgrown, it's good.
Yeah.
So it's there.
Yeah.
Linda wanted to speak.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone ever goes to Radco.
Not recently.
No, I'm not going off list here. If you look at any of the prices, and while you're there, they can change. It's all done from the office. They don't come out with pieces of paper and put them on the front
Oh, you mean in the supermarkets?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
And that's gone in this year. Is it, I don't know, it might be totally out of finance, but would it be possible to have notices that can be changed from the office?
I think the digital
Digital
ones.
ones, yeah.
Well, that's what Tim alluded to. I think it's part of that
Yeah.
grander plan.
I mean, it's all doable, of course it is, but then you're talking about a lot more money.
Could come in sponsorship as well. But the thing is, has anybody read our communication strategy? How many councillors are here today? So we have, the thing I was going to say, right, we have a communication strategy. It was worked on, it was proposed, it was adopted by council. It might not be the best strategy in the world, but what I would suggest is, if anyone's got ideas on how we can better communicate with people, read the strategy, make some suggestions, we'll adopt the new strategy, and then we'll do it. That is the correct way for the council to proceed, because otherwise we'll sort of chit-chat and stuff. But we started with a strategy, we started implementing parts of it. If we all get familiar with that strategy and then recommend how to improve it, I think we'll make progress, because otherwise...
So with the working party, because I think I'm on that.
Mm.
Am I on that? Sorry, I think I am. Have we met? And I just haven't come?
No, we're one of these
Are we
communication
like
working parties
elusive
that we
and in the
don't
shadow?
communicate very much.
Because I would like to meet in person personally.
Yes, we need to have
because I
one.
think everyone has great ideas,
Yeah.
and then we can do the work
Yeah.
and feed into this.
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
you really need more than a group of councillors in a room. I mean,
No, but it's a
even
start.
it is a start, but when we've got a huge amount of assumptions being made here about how the public get information about the town or the town council. We're making assumptions, and we really don't have any evidence to back it up.
Well, that's part of the strategy as well.
Yeah, that's what we need
we
to
will,
start
we will
having
be doing.
together.
We did talk about that
So-
earlier. We will be looking for
But you may need
evidence
to look at some outside consultancy to actually figure out how do our public actually get their information
Absolutely.
about anything in the town, not just about the high street, about the shops availability, the town council meetings. Where do they get it from? And we need to stop making assumptions and find that out before
I
we
think
do
I
anything.
cannot agree more.
Who's your heat man that did all the
But-
heat things?
Yeah,
They've got it.
Dave Gossett.
Yeah.
Is he?
exactly. I would say, you know, I totally
He's
agree.
our project manager.
These
So we can get that.
are
straight
things
rather
we're
than
going to
pay
hopefully
someone
feed back
else.
into our strategy and an evidence base, like I said. In the short term,
Mm.
because that's going to take time, if people have ideas on how we can better communicate in a free and simple way, have a look at our strategy document, suggest some improvements, and the council can be very agile in doing these things much more quickly. Right.
I've also
So-
got a load of info from the University of Reading that did research
Oh,
on
excellent.
communication using the area.
It's
So it's all done. Well, not
Oh,
all
really?
done, but
It's
some of it might be
one of, I find it one of the most interesting aspects of the council, but we can all play our part. So, Deb's stepped out.
Toilet.
She just got, poor Deb, she's so fed up. That's just kind of going, it's a great idea, but so we've kind of agreed in principle, haven't we? Item 110. The ever exciting issue of public toilets. Does anyone, I want to keep this relatively, how many time? Yeah, we can have a bit of time to discuss it if you really need. Does anyone want to say anything about the report that was issued by Peter?
I always want to say something.
Okay.
It's one of my traits.
Does anyone get a word in before Sean?
I'm happy to wait. I'm happy to wait. So, anyway, very interesting piece. And I think you're probably right. I mean, a community scheme is probably going to end up being the most realistic option. But I still have concern. I mean, the report doesn't contain any actual costs.
No, let me, before you go,
Yeah.
in no way, shape or form is this a feasibility study.
No.
It's an initial thought map, if you like. So this hasn't been written with any hardcore evidence backing. It's been done with research.
Yeah.
And just to sort of, and also I just wanted to give the council a flavour of the steps that would probably need to go through to get a properly costed feasibility study in place. So it was really just a case of, before I go sort of thing, and knowing that I would not have time to do the full-blown feasibility study to say, yeah, but have you thought about this sort of thing? Because this is the sort of issues that I'm finding out from research that's out there on the web about what other counties are doing. That was it, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the trouble is the community scheme is probably the cheapest option, probably the most viable, but it's fraught with problems, isn't it? I mean, a lot of my residents, even if they know they're allowed to go into Witherspoons or the White Hart or Riverside to use the toilet, they would feel it was almost rude to go in and just walk into a pub, use their toilet and walk out again. You always feel obliged to at least go to the bar and ask permission to go and use the toilet. And this filters through, particularly, I would say, older generations have this, it's rude to go and just use a facility without using the service of that business. So, and there's also the problem with hours, what hours businesses are open. I mean, I know, you know, the library has a toilet. The town hall, you say, is going to have toilet facilities.
But it's not going to be open necessarily as much.
It will
The
be
town
open
hall.
all
The town hall
4
has,
hours.
that's right.
No, but you did say that the town hall will have public toilets.
It's an option for
But
people.
it's a piece, again, it's a piecemeal approach that doesn't provide that level of continuity that a lot of residents want when they come into a town. Just for something as simple as where can I go to the toilet? And they don't want this such a high level of complication and issue about something as simple as going to a toilet when you arrive in the town. And it does put off a lot of residents from coming into the town, surprisingly, a lot. And you know, at the end of the day, we've put a huge amount of effort into building a town hall, building a town park, encouraging, trying to get footfall up, town markets, all this stuff. And it seems that toilets have been a complete afterthought in this whole millions of pounds of town parks and halls and markets. Toilets seem to be a bit of an afterthought.
Maybe, I don't know, there's a misconception that there are few facilities, and this comes up all the time. So lots of people said there are no toilets, I pointed out there's toilets, I didn't know. Right, so the first thing is that the Hollies Library, when it's open, is a perfectly acceptable public toilet. It's a library, it's a public building, it's got a public toilet in it. It could do with better signage on the actual library itself. There are signs from the high street telling you to go there, but you don't know what to do when you get there.
Yeah.
So that should be addressed, I think. The leisure centre is exactly the same. I mean, the leisure centre just use block says please use the facilities within. They're not part of the changing room, it's got separate facilities in there. Again, better signage outside might help, but they've said many, many times. I understand what they're saying about pubs and other institutions that people feel they don't necessarily want to go in and ask. I get that. But the leisure centre and the library should technically be able to act as public toilet facilities along with the town hall when it's open. So that does give you some amount of cover for people. I think it's important.
What
that people know
about
that.
the sub-centre?
Yeah.
Because I know that's on
when that's
Peter's
open.
piece, yeah.
When it's open, yeah. One of the things that, you know, as part of this strategy, which might not be written down though, is when the community trust take the responsibility for the summer centre again, we'd like to see that building open and used to its maximum potential most, if not all, evenings in the week, which means you've got public toilet facility right next to your town park.
But to be fair, this is not what we've had this discussion before, and the result of the discussion was that we would have a feasibility study to look at the feasibility of bringing in a public toilet into Midsummer Norton. Now, Peter's provided some background information, so now we need to do what we said we're going to do, which is a feasibility study on bringing in public toilets, which means we have to look at potential sites, we have to look at potential costs, and then from when we've got that information in front of us, then we can make an informed decision about whether it's financially viable or even the locations viable to do compared to the alternatives of this of the community schemes and so
Well,
on.
do you think maybe we could like the community scheme though, which would also highlight the facilities that are available in places like the Sun Centre and the Leisure Centre and the library? If you gave that time, which would give a free option, a very cheap option, if in a couple of years' time, when we're doing lots of consultation, hopefully, maybe the feedback will be the toilet provision is then better because people are aware of where the facilities are available. And that might have solved the problem without possibly going down the route of an expensive feasibility study.
Who would you propose us in? Because I'm going to be honest now, if our business was approached to say, would you allow us to use the public toilet, I say a categoric no. I would not get involved at
Fair
all.
enough.
Absolutely not.
But
Your
many
business. But no, we're
Well,
talking
so
about
who-
like
so
high
who do
street
you-
businesses.
because
Well, basically, the thing is, what you're doing really is you're publicising the fact that, let's face it, you're going to get spoons, but you're also publicising the fact that you've got the town hall, and you've got the Hollies Library, and you've got the leisure centre, and the summer centre, and you can put the timings on these so people are aware.
And I know that, sorry, maybe I'm not
Places.
understanding, sorry. So I appreciate all of that. But I thought about the proposal was potentially to ask businesses
Yeah.
if they would mind their toilets being used for the public.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, who would you propose to ask?
That's just schools.
Well,
Can I just say I had a brief email correspondence with the town clerk of Frome because they have a scheme and it's called You're Welcome, and I think it started about 10 years ago, and they said they had to really manage the launch of it to make sure that there was lots of positive messaging around what they were doing, but they invited all the local businesses to take part, and there was a small grant at the beginning for them to make their toilet more accessible, make it a place that was going to be able to be used by the public, and then there was a small annual stipend or whatever to keep it going, and that's been really successful. 10 years on, it's still going, and they also have a water refill scheme as well, so that the same businesses may or may not sign up to both, but the town council have their own bottles. So if you've come into town and you don't have a bottle but you wanted to buy one, then you could buy a bottle, and then there are lots of places that you can get it refilled.
nice.
So there are lots of ideas with communities that we could explore without
Katie, what
block.
type of businesses? Were they businesses like cafes and stuff that actually could potentially generate income from that? But with the footfall going in, I mean, you know, so the places that had a public toilet anyway for their own customers, and then what they're doing, they're just going, yeah, okay, then we'll do that, and we'll get this grant and make it more accessible, and that's fine.
It's art centres, it is cafes, medical centre, cinemas,
Yeah, okay, I get that. That makes all sense. But if you look at Norton,
storage unit.
there's not that many that would
But
be.
you see, look at Norton, I mean, as I say, it's not because it's got quite a lot of public facilities as well. All you need is a couple of businesses.
I think a
Well,
funded
some have already
system. I like the idea of a funded system where we're working with the business. It's not just a business. We're not just telling people you can go and knock on this door and use their toilet. If we've got some arrangement where we're helping to finance the additional costs of running those toilets as public toilets rather than just for your own business, I think that has some options. I mean, I was in Saturday. I was in Bristol. I was in Burger King, and a little minibus turned up. 9 blokes got off, walked in, used the toilets, mess everywhere, walked out, got on the minibus and left. And so that, you know, and I won't tell you what the staff said, but
I can imagine.
there was a lot of work involved in looking after those toilets. I think we've got to take it further than just saying they don't mind if you use their toilet. I think we have to have a more formal agreements. And but I mean, I would say, obviously, Frome still have public toilets alongside that.
Yeah, but they're owned by Somerset Council, not by Frome Town Council.
Yeah, yeah. And again, in this feasibility study, that's something we should be exploring with Baines as well as just as a town council. Perhaps this whole idea of who's responsible for supporting the residents with things like public toilets. So, but I think the feasibility study is the critical thing, rather than us just trying to make arbitrary decisions without the information.
I mean, the very first thing is back to the notice boards, perhaps, though, but if there is a perception that there aren't toilets, and it must be a misconception, because I use the toilet all the time in town, and I'm just a resident like everyone else. But if there is this misconception, better signage might alleviate the problem a lot. People come outside through a car park, and it's not obvious where to go and things like that. So if we do things like the leisure centre and the library, which are public toilets, make that obvious first, and then if people are still unhappy using those, maybe
We need a notice board then, don't we?
Yeah.
We need a notice board.
Actually, you do for this. Yeah.
So we put all of that stuff in, so yeah.
I think it's interesting getting Katie's feedback from Frome, because in Bristol, which I know is on a much larger scale or whatever, they say on their website they currently have 185 businesses bought into their community scheme, the toilet community scheme, and they are a mixture of bars, shops, cafes, whatever. In order to do, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but in order to do a feasibility study, first of all, we've got to decide if we're going to do more than putting a finger in the air in terms of costs. We need to identify a potential site. We need to understand what we're talking about here, unless somebody is aware of premises that I'm not aware of, that we could be looking at new build from the ground up. which would be a major capital issue. So I just and then you're talking about design or whatever. So it can be done. All I'm saying is that this council's capital ability is quite low at the moment, and will be for some time. And I'm not sure. Well, that's the problem. I am quite sure that the costs of building a toilet block from the ground up is going to be prohibitive.
When we're building lots of toilets in the town hall. Tim wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Peter's, I think, really touched on it, is that a feasibility is to look into what is deliverable, not what is deliverable, to look into the option that is deliverable. Now, I don't think we're in a position to decide which option we go down the route of, because we're not, how do we, we have to consult. We've had a group of people conducting effectively a report formed from a petition to us to kind of get to this point. Do we need to put any more effort into more consultation to say what kind of, is an option, both for businesses and otherwise, or is it what are we going to do with this? This is the point. We clearly haven't got the means to go down the route of building anything.
Yeah, but if we've got the town hall toilets going in, and there's a load of money going in to the island, that's the long-term solution, is it not? And then this looking at inventive schemes that are a bit new, that have taken off and worked well, and then a short-term signage.
That's it. And then the thing these things take, say, 4 years to really bed in. If there's still an issue, then we might decide that, I did think just get rid of the town hall, big toilet block.
Logically, with delivering a solution, if you've got 4 options, you don't go with the most expensive one first, you do the quick wins, short-term wins if you run, and you kind of, you go down the route, don't you? So,
all done though. These are all done.
And actually going back to almost sort of U-turning on myself and going back and Deb's notice board issue is that certainly in Bristol, I suspect they do a similar thing in Crewe. They do have a number of information boards in different areas that have a town map with symbols on them showing where you locate, where you can find located those businesses that are in the community scheme. And then each of the places that do participate in the scheme have a very large sign that they can display saying they are part of the scheme and people are welcome to come in and use their. So that's where information boards are really useful for that.
I mean, that's definitely a great option, but getting back to what you say, Tim, first of all, the general consensus is absolutely the public want toilets, public toilets in this and that's been, they've been banging on for years about it, and rightly so. So I think it's really simple. We need to, if we can try and figure out where a site would be, a potential site that's feasible to use, how much it's going to cost, and then you go back to the public and say, sorry, let me finish, please. And then you go back to the public and say, if you really want public toilets, it's going to cost this much, maintenance is going to cost this much, so your precept is going to go up by this much, you still want it now.
But I think we need to know that urgency. We are several times tonight, the process has come up, and this has got. Are we talking about, the toilets are that important that they stand outside the strategy, that developing our priorities of town and that consultation thing? Are we saying we're going to go ahead with the feasibility study of toilets, spend all the money that would cost, and arrive at something that then we put into our town strategy and in the consultation document? Or are we going to roll that back and say, well, no, we're going to just look at toilets as part of the town strategy and consult on that, saying this is what it would cost to do a feasibility study, this is what it would cost to, imagine the cost would be going forward. I think, it's got to be part of the process, and not just this, and also it's got to be properly consulted on. It just feels like it's a big expenditure, bigger than anything else we're considering doing.
Okay, so why can't, the thing is, if the public want it, which they say they do, but if they know then it's going to cost them, because it will, because it's unavoidable, why do we have to do a full feasibility study? Why can't we get estimated costs and then go one step further and put that back out to the public? Look, we need to do a feasibility study if you then accept in the first instance that it's going to cost X amount of pounds to do this, and then I don't know, maybe that could be part
No,
of
we
the
need to decide that it's our priority, and that priority has come
But
from
isn't
a
our
proper
priority, hang on, shouldn't
consultation
our priority,
rather than a petition.
yeah, but
or a
shouldn't
member of the
shouldn't
public.
our priority be what the public wants? And
Yes, as a proper process.
they have been saying
but not
for
as-
years it's what they want. I'm not saying it's right. Peter's report was really valid points, and it's really difficult. So ideally it'd be great to have public toilets, but I'm fully aware that that might not just be doable. So, but surely we're here to represent what the public wants.
Yeah.
Someone just say, Sean, please back me up on this. Is it not been historically what people have been crying out for?
Well,
Absolutely.
that's only
So I
the
don't
issues
know.
in shout loudest about, and that doesn't mean the minority shouldn't be represented in respect, but there isn't like that petition was put together through no short amount of effort, but it wasn't like, how do we know the ages of those people, the backgrounds of those people? Is it representative of the public?
We're not putting a great weight on the petition, I don't think.
16,000
Yeah.
people in Eastern Norton.
Well, exactly. There's 15,000 people in this Norton. I'm really sorry, guys, but what I'm going to do is, we don't have anything to resolve. I think it's a really interesting discussion. I think it probably should be carried on, but I don't think we have time to make it effective this evening. So it sounds like we're going to kill John, but it's not. We don't have anything to resolve, and I'm very short of time. So I think it's definitely an item for discussion in any sort of working party. We want to discuss it.
So
And we can properly discuss these things, because otherwise we won't get.
So
to
what's the process for taking this matter forward then? If we're
It's
stopping
gonna-
discussing it now,
Because it'll form part of the strategy, or a working party can discuss something
We've
and
had
bring it to council as a resolution.
We've had it expressed.
But there's nothing to
as
resolve
an interim.
in this item, so it just becomes.
No, exactly.
We won't necessarily.
Anything to add?
But we have to finish our meeting by 9 o'clock.
but that's the important factor here, isn't it? Not actually deciding where we take anything
We
forward.
can't make decisions on this item.
But we can put something into a forward plan, decide how we're going to take this issue forward. So there's nothing been
I
decided.
don't think we're going to do that.
Not everything
In
is
this meeting.
what's in decision though. We just have to. At this point, we're acknowledging there's an issue that's been expressed like very well.
Oh,
at
it's-
the last meeting, and we need to look into
If
it.
you're a member of the public, how do you feel now that you think, there's an important subject that I wanted to listen to at the town
Sure, the
council?
way you're acting right now is as if you would expect us to go outside and start building one.
No,
No, that's not what I'm saying, is it?
No,
Okay, what are we going to do next?
I
We haven't
am
decided what we're
actually
do
going to
next.
insist that we move on, because we're not making progress on this.
We're not
I know
making
it's
progress as a
frustrating,
town council,
but-
no.
Well, perhaps, but I don't think we're making progress on this item. And we're just starting to fall out, which is not great. It's not fall out. Not about the public toilets. Okay. Right, item 111. Monthly newsletters. That's not contentious. That was literally me just saying, maybe instead of, I thought people might be getting bored of my mayor's announcements because they're very me-focused.
But that's the problem, isn't it?
Well,
It highlights the mayor, it doesn't
I know.
highlight some
Well, I
normal
don't, I
town
think
council.
I just make it myself, honestly. And I just thought it's a bit too me. And even my mum's getting a bit bored of it. So I thought maybe with a small bit of tweaking, we should really just incorporate it into a short newsletter with a page, say, on the mayor, and a page any other councillor wants to put in, and it's as little or as much work as anyone wants to be. I'm still happy to do most of the stuff, but it might require a little bit of council backing if we wanted to print a few copies for people that want a hard copy. That's it. So I think that's all council have to decide. And if it doesn't go anywhere, I don't think we've lost anything, but I think a little printed pamphlet, if we could do it, ideally once a month with a little bit of information, might be useful to hand out in the market, might be useful to put a couple of copies by the chairman.
On that newsletter, are we allowed to use that as a mechanism for feedback from the community? I.e., we spoke about toilets. Where would you like to see some?
Absolutely. This was part of our strategy. We would love to be in a position where people regularly pick up their little newsletter and either use it to go and find the website, or they know to find the website. And then we start putting in forums, polls, micro polls to get genuine feedback. Not big 20-page questionnaires, people will go through them, but micro polls, little bits of information. Do you agree? Do you strongly disagree? Do you like? All this kind of stuff. So the more we engage, I think the more we can use that engagement with people. So it was just a little extension of mayor's announcements to really be town council announcements, with perhaps a small amount of budget for printing a few copies.
So what do you want us to do in that, Gordon? Because it's all great ideas and you've got a lot of effort into doing them. And obviously there could be others that could help contribute to that. If we're proposing, are we going to propose that we go ahead with access this petition staff time, hopefully, to put it together, or?
Perhaps the printing was the issue, really, isn't it? I mean, we have a decent printer. So
You
if we wanted to
do
print
have a
copies-
decent printer. I haven't got the price of it
Incredibly
because
expensive.
it is very expensive. They sent obviously I'm putting the budget together, and I'm contacting everybody for prices. I went to them for the price for next year, and they gave the prices for this year, because obviously you pay a lease, a monthly lease, and then depending on how many copies you made, you get charged. Last year it was £1,700.
What's that?
Printing.
Printing.
How many do you want to print?
I was thinking 1 or 2.
Um,
I'm good at that. I was going to do a dozen. I was going to do sign
Why not
copies.
allowed to do that?
No, I mean seriously, if the printing's an issue that's too expensive, forget that. We'll just do PDF format and just print a copy myself.
And I think the other thing I think gets towards is a lot of things to talk about communication noticeable about. We have to create content for all those things.
Yeah.
And the website, everything. We actually have to put content, so anything like that, like you say, it could be evolved into something else where it's a more broader kind of council update away from the...
But the same content should be used for the website and not just for the announcements. So I don't know if we have to resolve anything. Really, then. If we're
How
just
does
gonna
it
create-
work in practice?
well,
It works. Is
Do you want to refer this back to the media and working party?
no, we're just
No.
if we don't need printing costs, it just requires does anybody want
Are you
to
looking for us to
hijack the
say-
mayor's announcements and make it town council?
Are you
events?
Yeah,
Well,
you're
I've
looking
got a
for...
town clerk thing on it.
Yeah.
Monthly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can come under the town clerk stage, really, couldn't it? It's a good
Exactly.
sort of...
There will be
Consistent way of
some
communicating.
printing costs, because obviously you'll need to print some of them off.
Hopefully,
Because if you're handing them out to the market, you need a pile.
oh, but things bad no one. My goodness, I'm not that popular.
Can we do a
I've
QR
had one or
code?
two. Yeah,
You
QR
can have
codes.
a QR code
Yeah.
and just point people towards it so they can get up on their phones and things like that.
That's
Obviously,
not a bad idea.
I'm aware.
they're well underused.
I'm aware of them. I don't
Keep
think
updates.
if everyone agrees with the idea, I don't think we have to resolve anything. What I would say is if anybody wants to contribute to our hypothetical town council newsletter with anything they want, really, get stuck in. It's a real chance to promote stuff. Let people know where toilets are.
I could create a group on Teams that was like a specifically for that. So if anyone wants to put any articles, whatever,
Yeah,
on
that'd be
that,
great.
That's a brilliant idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Excellent.
the newsletter team will create.
Newsletter team.
Create
That's-
a newsletter. So you are doing, so basically you are going to do a newsletter.
But we'll see how it goes.
Try.
We're just we'll try it.
And that'll evolve from mayor's announcements.
Basically, mayor's
So
announcements.
we're going to not have mayor's announcements. Has anyone got a problem with that?
There's going to be a page of mayor's announcements. Maybe. Right. I said it was away of time, we still are. Now we're on to update on the Christmas event, item version 12, on acceptance of costings.
Can I interrupt, because I didn't forward this on, this is really good news. I didn't forward this on to you all last week. We put in the budget £10,000 for the Christmas lights. It is going to cost £3,000.
Hey!
That's amazing.
The tree.
So you can have your tree and your lights, and you've got to say
Yeah,
it's
two
still.
But,
One at each end of the high street, so we've got like two bases of
it
interest.
costs 1,300, but if you want a switch on the 30th, it's going to cost you another £700.
Well, yes, we do think, don't we?
It's mentioned in the paper.
So what's
The lighting is a bit complicated, so just bear with me, I will try and explain. Baines are putting up the lighting, and you are getting 21 different motifs on all the street lights. They cannot turn them all on at the same time, because they have to be manually switched on at the lamppost. So they cannot have 21 people to turn them on at the same time. So you can have what they call a soft switch on, is when they install it and they're on. They don't give us a date, they're just on. Or on the 30th, you can have 3 or 4 switched on, and then but you'll need 3 or 4 personnel to switch them.
Which personnel?
It'll be Baines electricians.
So they go from lamppost to lamppost, so we're like
Could we
Next week.
suggest that we did it on the carnival?
Could we though have the street lights switched on when they're put up? You know, okay, so that's what, but the Christmas tree lights.
Yes.
yeah, we
No.
touch in the street.
Oh, yes. You
That is the big kind
So,
of
that, so when the
Yeah.
Christmas tree gets lit up.
Oh yeah. So what you're looking for is what they call a soft switch on. Is they install them and they just switch them on so they're on.
Except for the tree.
Except for the tree, because we're installing the tree.
Sorry, is that still
Trees and
700
towers.
quid then? If we just want the tree lights to have the big switch on? Would that?
No, if you have a soft switch, what they call a soft switch,
Yeah.
is £3,178.17p. if you have personnel out on the 30th to do a manual switch on during the celebration, that's where your extra £700 goes.
That's for staff.
Yeah, no, I'm really sorry.
It's
I'm
still
not,
on the night, the
so-
switch them on stages on that night.
No, they'll only
Only the
switch.
tree.
No, they'll only switch on 3 or 4 in the holidays.
Just the ones that you can see from the
I'm
tree.
confused.
Or like them at the same time.
Yeah.
So we can't have all the street lights on, they just get switched on, and then like Linda said, on the 30th we have the tree lights up.
The tree's entirely separate to the
there we go.
lights, the street lighting.
Oh, I'll just push them all on then, I don't pay for them.
I think we just put them on as good as the
Yeah.
trees.
Yeah, as long as we can get the tree switch on.
But it saves us money.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I
I
said.
told them that's that day.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Good. Right. Is there anything
The
else?
lights are the soft, what they call
Yes.
soft light.
Yeah.
Switch.
Soft switch. We have
Just to
more-
confirm, they're all on the 30th. The high street.
I will confirm.
They're all
They do now.
because otherwise the top of the high street is going to be happy over it.
They do know that this is 30th, but I will confirm. Anyway, so yes, so you've got money in the budget for tree.
And more besides, because the tree only came in at
3.5 plus VAT.
Reindeers.
yeah, so
So
we're
the
doing
six,
pretty well in terms of the budget for Christmas events.
yeah, okay, good. So that's 6,000 we talked about originally, 3,000 for parties, 3,000 for Christmas events. We've more or less got that. Well, and there's some other stuff if we need some other stuff. Yeah.
Not give a 40 reindeer then.
Don't talk about the jogging. Headline.
We don't have to spend it all.
We're restricted by the issues we had, just to let you know, some issues we had with licensing or figuring out whether we got licensing since the last time we met. I think that's been resolved. I stood away from that because I'm organising the things that are going on, not the legalities and all that sort of things. So I'm hoping that's kind of got or getting sorted. We've admitted defeat with the town hall. That's not going to happen. So, and the island is difficult to police or manage because there's still traffic allowed there. So it could block it off and put staff on and get a licence for that. So that's probably not going to happen. So the main focus is so kind of scale down a little bit from what I sort of ran charging towards in August, September. Focusing on the Holly's Garden, kind of what we had 2 years ago, the big tree, a stage in front of the tree with music going on from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, then the lights, Christmas tree lights switch on, and announcements, competition winners and things, and then Christmas sing-along, carol sing-along. We've got some dancers, period dancers. We approach community groups, so that isn't costing us anything. The dancers are a community group. We've got a local brass band. Again, that's a community group, and we're gathering various stalls that are going to be along the high street. Exactly where we're not sure yet until the licences are clear and we know the number that we're going to use. We've got other things like the nativity from the church we're going to put out. Wandering, entertainment or interaction. At the moment, Alex and the trust is looking at the cost of licences and staffing, so he knows how much he's got left to spend on the Victorian interactive aspect of things. But there will be stuff, and there will be snow and people wandering around in a festive way, really enjoying. Santa we've got organised, and so it's just a case of gathering more and more community groups to help deliver various parts of the event. 50 nearly of the shops have been approached with hand-delivered letters explaining what's going on, asking them if they'll open, take part in the art trail and do a window display. There's been some emails returned back to the trust and some verbal agreement to be involved. So we're hopeful that quite a lot of shops will be involved. There seems to be a lot of positive engagement there. And I think that's more or less it. I've looked at my notes, but I think that's more or less
Well done.
we're still looking for a celebrity to turn on the lights. We've got some ideas. People who approach the past. If anyone knows anyone's really famous, let me know.
There's
Like it there.
And what about Homes Under the Hammer guy? Isn't he also?
Yeah.
So Martin, can I ask a question?
Yes.
You talked about mentioning it with sponsorship with Tree, although we probably could cover it.
Yes. I'm waiting. I've approached the previous sponsors, and again with a package of supporting other events. So they're meeting at the beginning of October.
Is this Backhouse?
Yeah.
Mm.
So it seemed very, we've had a few emails back and forth, and I've put together like a 3-page proposal on how we would, recognise their sponsorship. Because we did that quite well in the music festival, but we're also trying to ask them to sponsor the fair, the music festival, and as well as the tree contribution. So hopefully, we'll see about that. But moving forward, I think sponsorship is for the trust as well. It's a big thing.
Absolutely. Well, it's the first time we've really got the crucial thing. Right, excellent. Thank you so much, Lauren. Horribly over time now. Item 113, so the Town Council has to request the Town Trust for a date for the next meeting. So what the Council used to do is the Town Trust meetings used to run straight after Council meetings. That always used to work. And you have to officially change your priorities and forget your conflicts of interest, and you're now representing the Town Trust, not the Town Council's big distinction. Different objectives, obviously, but that's the way we used to do it before.
Town Trust trustees.
Well, the Town Council is the trustee, and we are the Town Council. So yeah, effectively we're trustees of the Town Trust.
The Town Trust also have members of the public, didn't it?
And no, I'm not sure it ever did.
I think
I'm not sure it ever did.
The Town Trust is just councillors.
Yeah, council.
So what were me, Martin, Gemma, who's gone now, and Mike?
Management committee.
Management, yes.
Thanks.
So probably I'd imagine, not second guessing, but the Town Trust desperately does need to meet and really decide what it's going to do regarding its administrative functions and staffing resource. And so it just needs to get together and do that ASAP, I think.
In the interest of the Town Trust, as the only trustee, the Town Council could propose the agenda through its current staffing.
Yeah.
No, we have to do with the Town Trust.
Oh, no, that's not true. Because the Town Council, as an entity, is the trustee. So
Yeah, but the Town Trust is completely different to the Town Council.
oh, it is, but
So
we, this entity, no individual person, staff, councillors, not necessarily bricks and mortar, but that is the trustee, isn't it? So they have that relationship with the Town Trust. They are the sole trustee. So there you go. That is the relationship.
I find that very difficult because when the Town Trust was formed, it was formed because historically buildings and things owned by the town had been given away.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, the Town Hall. And they'd been given away by the council. And
Baines, you mean?
no, by Midsummer Norton Town Council. Right, we're going back 100 years here. And things have been given away, and the whole idea of setting up the Town Trust directly from the council, I know it goes on to the community, but never mind that, was that it would have members of the council, yes, but members of the public, so that if a town councillor said, oh, we want to get rid of that, don't we, let's sell it, there'd be the members of the public saying, no, you're not, it's ours for the town, you're keeping it. That was how it was set up
No,
in
the
the first place.
Community Trust has 4 councillors and 7 residents. That's its
Yes, that
rules.
does as well.
The Town Trust, its rules, interestingly enough, say that it is not allowed to give its assets away. Right. So the Town Trust, as a separate legal entity, owns things like the Summer Centre. It's not allowed to give it away unless it gives it to another charitable organisation, which can never be the Town Council. So it was a one-way asset transfer, and if you were part of it, remember you were part of it, Paul spent an awful lot of time explaining why this was an undoable, are you sure? So we did it, we were asked to. Anyway, that's the way the Town Trust works. The main thing is, we become trustees, or the Town Council becomes a trustee, and we usually need the meeting. So shall we agree to have it after the next full council meeting? Because we'll all be here.
It just feels like it,
Conflict.
Well, no,
No,
not that. It just feels like there
it's-
hasn't been a meeting for how long? A
You
long
need
time.
it before the next full meeting. That's another month.
Is that me? Where's my phone just start? It's because we're over time.
Touch your watch, Sarah.
Sorry.
You're not actually over time because your formal meeting didn't start until 18 minutes past.
Okay, fair enough.
So you do actually have another 15 minutes.
Well, thanks, Kate.
Before you, if you get, sorry, this isn't to the time out. If you get to 18 minutes past, and you will need to resolve to extend it, but you have it till 18 minutes.
Okay.
So, anyway, back to the town.
Yes.
I found over the weekend, which I showed Peter, I will email you, very, very useful information on councils as trustees. They are not part of the town council. The town trust is not part of the town.
No, it's not at all. It's a totally separate legal entity.
Yeah,
One
so
trustee.
you would do your own agendas, you would do your own stuff.
No, because the town council, as a legal entity, as the sole trustee, right, can, because town council is an entity, and the town council can do stuff as an entity. It can choose what it wants to do. So when we ran town trust meetings before, the clerk would continue to act as the clerk, and the office staff would continue to be present during those meetings. But they also had a separate administrative job, which was shared between the town council and the trust, and that's no longer the case. So the town council, as an entity, as the sole trustee, and town councils can choose to do whatever they like, can decide to do that, because that's within our power as a council, as an entity, as long as all 11 councillors agree. So that's how it works, as far as I understand, because it must have worked before Casella. So,
Well, did it not work before because one of the members of the town council staff was paid to work for them?
and you had to do a separate administrative function, but not, for instance, at the meetings, the clerk just continued on in the meeting. So the meeting, we'd have a town council meeting like this, it would come to an end, and then we'd usually have a quick break, and then we'd go into the town trust meeting, and the clerk had prepared, the town council clerk had prepared the agenda for the town trust meeting. So I did some research to check, and we explained that this is perfectly acceptable because the town trust, as the legal entity and the sole trustee, can decide if it wishes to do any work it wants to for anybody, including the town trust. And as a trustee, it would be quite a normal thing to do. And it obviously wasn't an awful lot of work. So that is the relationship.
I'm confused though, Gordon, because Joe was separately employed by the town trust,
Yes.
paid a separate salary
Yes.
with money that was given to them by the council
Yes.
as grant.
Yeah.
So why, I'm confused as to why the trust employed somebody and paid them separately. Why you're saying that the town staff used to support the meetings? Why wasn't it their employee?
Because that wasn't.
Hi.
You alright? What's going on in here?
Council
Thanks
meeting.
for the meeting. We're nearly done.
So that wasn't to, that wasn't necessarily to prepare the agenda for those meetings.
Alright.
So that town trust member staff obviously performed an administrative function, but that didn't prohibit the town council, as a single entity, deciding it can do anything. So the town council decides to do some work for the trust. The town council can decide to use its resources as it sees fit, and that's probably what it's going to have to do until it decides a slightly longer term solution to how we want to manage the town trust. And as the sole trustee of the town trust, we, the council, will have to decide how it wants to manage the trust going forward, which shouldn't be very difficult. It's not, it's complicated once you get your head around it, it's not that complicated.
Okay, so we need clarification.
Yeah.
We need, so we need our staff to clarify the situation.
Yeah. So we will do that.
Yeah.
But I think the agenda item is to agree a date, because I don't know when the last time the town trust met, and even if we were in future going forwards to tag trust items onto the end of council meetings, at the moment these meetings are getting so long, I think we just need to come together and talk about town trust related matters.
Because in November meeting, you've got we haven't sent the information out yet, but you are going to have another informal meeting at 6:15.
Right.
So, because you are having somebody coming to do another talk at 6:15, and then if you have a full council after that, and then another town trust meeting.
There's nothing that we're aware of that's particularly pressing in terms of having a meeting.
No.
No. So it's not.
But we do need to come up with some. The council itself would probably have to come up with some sort of solution to enable the town council, for instance, if that's what we decide, to do whatever administrative work is necessary for the town trust to continue.
Okay, so that's for Katie and her staff to decide how they want to take it
Well,
forward.
the council would first have to say we'd like it to happen, and the staff would make it happen, because the council would have to
I
resolve
think
that.
we've put the cart before the horse. I think the people actually going to have to administer this process are the people that perhaps should look at how the best way to do that.
Well, ask them. I don't know if they'd necessarily be allowed to do things unless the council authorise it, because the council as a entity is the sole trustees. I don't know, for instance, I don't know if, for instance, it says it, but I don't think it would be very wise, for instance, if the town council staff, right, they want to go and work for another firm without our say-so, because I thought you were employed for the town council. So they could do something, but we'd have to obviously authorise it. So I think what the council would have to do is say, look, if we want a small amount of time to be used on town trust business as a sole trustee, we would probably have to resolve that.
Yeah, because town trust you see like a little charity, and if we're not managing it properly and administrating it properly, it's going to go into trouble. So we have to look after that as the only entity that manages it. So if we have to account a bit of resource to create some form of agenda to get that going, so they can then potentially, if it's decided in that meeting, to create the ability for it to be administrated itself, because that's what previously happened, but obviously we took that away.
Yeah.
With Joe's full-time appointment.
So that's it. And maybe and remember as well, because when it says that
You've got to get it going somehow.
when it says the town council, when it says the town council is the trustee, it does not mean the town councillors. It's really important. It's the town council. And the town council comes with some office staff. No, it's not. It's the town council. It's an entity.
One entity.
I've got some information.
Okay.
We're getting round to
We need to review.
I'd have to see that then, because that's really interesting, because that's not the way I understood it, because that's not the way it's listed on the company's house information.
My issue at the moment is more a more really practical one, in that the town council has funded the town trust to the tune of £30,000, 15,000 of which was used as salary to employ Joe.
Yeah.
That 15,000 hasn't been brought back into the council. The town trust will have that money, and yet they haven't actually appointed any replacement for Joe, and are instead calling upon the council staff, who are operating a smaller structure now than they were before.
And to this point, we haven't managed the town trust.
Who's operating from the
Town structure council, you used to have 4 members of staff, you've got 3 now.
No, I used to have 2 part-time members of staff. There's 3 full-time members.
That's
It's exactly the same.
So you've got, no, it's not exactly the same, so it's 3.5 instead of 4.2. It's
I
a
don't,
difference.
fair, thank you. I don't want to get distracted by that. I think we should probably be able to agree to have a contrast meeting. When would we like it to be then, if it has to be before the next full council?
I think we do need clarification. Before we even think about setting a meeting, we need to understand the structure and the management of it. And I think it would be better to defer that until we've got clarification of the starting levels and everything else.
Fair, that's it. Thanks for your point, Sean. I did actually mention some stuff to the office earlier, but we need clarification, like Sean said, about exactly what these terms of reference and articles of association are, so we know exactly legally what the relationship is and how we proceed. Does that sound reasonable?
You are now at, actually you've got 5 minutes.
Thank you, Kate. Right. We always used to, at our, we always used to put this resolve that the press and public be excluded. We always thought it used to be near the top of the agenda. Now it's
You tend,
just before the item.
I tend to do it. I tend to do it at the end because you do have a gentleman, you do have a member of the
I
public.
know,
They can then sit through
it's a
the
tough surprise right at the
and
end.
they can leave. If you have at the beginning,
I will.
you're going to stand outside.
I don't want to prejudice the item, but we will have to resolve to exclude the press and public. We don't have to, but it's up to you, knowing what the next item is.
Well, you kind of do on this one.
Oh, God, we have. Awesome.
Sorry.
Second. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
This occasion, I do need a proposal in a second.
Right.
Proposal.
Excellent. Thank you. We've got the nonsense going on.